Hello and welcome back to English Language Teachers ELT Under the Covers. I am Neil Teacher of Team Teacher, and I'm with Rudy Pooty, Richard Rudy.
Hey guys, how's it going, bros? My name is Rich Teacher. I seem to have changed my intro a bit.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Professor Rich, and we're doing meme review.
That would be a fun one.
Next. We'll do review of teaching memes at some point.
Yeah, definitely. See if we can find some ELT memes. I myself am a meme lord.
Yeah, I mean, if you want the best ELT memes, then you need to subscribe to Instagram ELT Under the Covers.
Yeah, we have the dankest and the greatest ELT
dankest
memes.
TEFL memes around.
That's going to be on a t-shirt at some point. So let me tell you what we have on the docket for today. Today we are watching an class observation, classroom video, and it's on the National Geographic Learning YouTube channel, and it's a teacher by the name of Clive Brown that's at an Oxford British Study Centre or something like that, of which he's the school director there, I believe. And it's him teaching from a National Geographic Sea Engage book, Life, I think is the upper intermediate one. I'm a big fan of National Geographic course books. I've taught Pathways extensively, and I've taught Our World, which is for kids. I really liked it for kids because they use a lot of those National Geographic animal photos, real photos. A lot of the time with the kids' course books, it's all kind of a little bit cartoony, and I liked that it was more realistic, and I thought it was more connected to the world. But I like their stuff. It's not necessarily the best for language layout kind of thing. I like the everybody up way, but it feels like it's a bigger play box, sandbox that you can kind of move around in and expand upon in their materials. Plus they have a lot of interactive content because they're National Geographic, so they use all their documentary videos and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So basically the language input comes from National Geographic, like videos and audios and stuff.
Yeah, and they often just grade it. So I have
cool.
with my adult class with the Pathways, it's not so graded. The Our World stuff with the kids is, but we have some interesting, good conversations with that. With
Pathways,
Pathways,
sounds really interesting. Actually, I've never used any of their books, so I'm not really that familiar with that. Not Pathways or any of those, but I like the idea. I think the more that you're drawing on sort of real things, the more potentially interesting and engaging it can be. When you're sort of writing a course book and it's like, this is unit 1, it's going to be about food and we're going to do present perfect, right? Let's get some material for it. I think that works less well than saying, oh, we've got a documentary here about jaguars, let's make it into an English class.
Yeah, and it's always kind of like they do a lot of human interest stories, and it's the stories that they have are kind of like from far-flung corners of the world, and it's interesting. Like I remember one, there's a guy in China that does bee therapy, where he like gets the bees to sting people in where the places they have arthritis to stimulate like an inflammation recovery or something. But it was like really interesting, and they're big on climate and talking about environment and stuff and all the intricacies around that, and developing technology. I find it's a lot better when it's more real world stuff, and it is coming from National Geographic researchers and such. And yeah, I like it. I prefer it to like the American Headway and that sort of thing. Although don't track me down and hurt me for not liking Headway. I know many people.
I don't understand why people do like Headway.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems so grammar based, isn't it? You know, it's like it really is literally this is the present perfect, and you have, yeah, I don't know. I don't get down with it. I really don't like the input in it. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I can understand it because it almost teaches itself. And
yeah, but is there not better things that teach themselves? I mean, the English file is amazing. You know,
yeah.
It teaches itself, and it's fantastic material. You know, cutting edge as well.
Yeah,
you know,
I like cutting edge. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway, so we're going to see this.
Dive in.
Well, we're going to dive in and see this teacher Brown teacher teaching from the coursebook Life. In a communicative language classroom. So
we're basically expecting the best teaching that we've ever seen in our life, right?
We are expecting the best teaching ever.
We should have played this one down so it would seem amazing. I think normally we play it up and then it seems terrible, but if we played it down, then this guy comes and kills it. Anyway, let's see.
I think it's hard to say, Blight. It's hard to say. You can't go, oh yeah, there's this guy and he teaches at this, Oxford Study English Centre. He's
Geographic,
a school,
whatever that is.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be very good. I don't think we could sell it that way, unfortunately. No one would believe us.
Okay, all right, let's give this a go.
Yeah.
Welcome to today's lesson. We're going to do a video lesson from Unit 2. Just to run through the lesson very quickly, we're going to talk about what we think we will see. We're going to watch and check and collect some vocabulary. Watch and listen for information. Watch, listen and then read.
This is going to be good, I think.
Well, he's going through is almost like a lesson plan.
He's signposting, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the word.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of signposting in this way, but I know that it is a box ticker for observed classes. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the reveal. I sort of like to.
You're a bit of a magician, aren't you?
Yeah, I like to be like, hey, so what did you do? What did you do this weekend? Oh yeah, you did this. You went to a restaurant. Oh cool. What kind of restaurant? Yeah. What restaurant? What's your favorite food? Do you like sort of sushi? Do you like? Okay. Right. Well, we're going to listen to an interview by a chef, a sushi chef. You know what I mean? Like kind of slip them in there.
How did he connect all? This is.
How did I learn the present perfect? It just happened. But okay, I do understand this way of doing it as well, and I think sometimes students appreciate it.
A lot of students, especially the logical, that I kind of expect this is a class, so it's got to have class stuff. Then kind of drawing back the curtains and going, oh, this is what we're going to go through today. It works.
Yeah. Right.
To check the information and collect more vocabulary. I'll take your vocabulary questions, we'll have a discussion and then feedback looking at some language. So first of all then, on page 30 you'll see the picture there. So my first question then is, what do you think the man in the photo is doing?
Some picture he laughed, but I don't understand what he had in his hand.
What was that?
A tissue.
A tissue? Why has he got a tissue in his hand, do you think?
I don't know.
What do people usually do when they have a tissue?
Maybe sneeze.
Okay, yeah. What was that? Sorry, Barbara? Sneezing. Yeah.
I feel like he should be on a chair, like sat down, don't you think? Because he's like doing this little conversational thing with them, and he sort of keeps like dipping down, because he sort of like as oh yeah, and then he kind of dips down, and I understand why he's doing that. I think because he wants to be to get that person-to-person communicative thing, and not come across like the authoritative teacher. But I almost feel like the chair would do that if he had the chair, and he's got one there. He's got an office chair there. You can see it in the picture.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I'd have the office chair there, and I'd be sat down next to the board, and you can stand up if you need to write stuff. He's got his book in front
I think it's a personal thing.
Yeah, sure.
I think he probably, he's probably just something that he's developed. It's almost kind of like he's fishing. He's like kind of putting his arm out. I've got one. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Oh, you said something. Oh, okay, we'll go over here. It's almost like he's kind of doing psychic poking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see what you mean. It's just going to be tough on his back. 20 years of doing it, though.
It is going to be a bit tough on his back, and also I think it would be, for me, it'd be a bit more natural if he was sat down. And I know I'm trying to sort of play bad cop here. The other thing I'd say is, again, I wouldn't have the books open at this stage. I'd just have the picture on the board, because I think they can see it on the board. I know we can't see it that well, but I'm sure they can.
That's true.
Yeah, I just think that'd be a lot better, because some of these students, they're going to start reading what's going on the right page, and they're going to stop engaging. That's definitely going to happen. Some of them are going to be reading the right side of the page. So he asked that question straight from the book. Some of them will have already read all 3 questions. And then it's not really communicative language teaching then, is it? It's something else. It is, but it's not as authentic communication, I suppose. But okay, I'm just being critical. Let's see what else happens. It's really good, by the way. I think we're possibly on for the best class that we've watched so far.
Okay. When do you think the photo was taken then?
I think before the war, like 1925. Yes.
Okay, so kind of
this year. I'm not sure.
maybe early 1900s. Yeah. Okay, so a long time ago. And why do you think the photo then is made up of several images?
Because if you put together many photographs, you can make a film passing them very quickly. I'm not sure.
Huh?
Short
Sure, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and if you read at the top of page 30, just next to the title there, inventors realised they could create the illusion of motion when by presenting a succession of pictures. Is there any new vocabulary there in that first little paragraph?
No.
Okay. So, Barbara, yeah, well done. Guessed correctly there. Okay. So we're going to watch a video about the history of film, and for this you'll need your page in your notebook. Do a little bit of writing.
It's the first time we've had someone show a video.
Take
Well, you showed
the
one.
page like this.
Oh yeah.
Roughly 3.
He's demonstrating what he wants them to do on the board as well, with the notebook.
So you've kind of got left-hand side predict. This is what you think you will see. In the middle, vocab or vocabulary, and then on the right, notes.
Checks all the people. They've all done it correctly.
I'm just going to wipe this off. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. 20 seconds with your partner. Okay. What 5 or 6 things do you think you will see in the video about history of film? Okay.
Love it. Yeah, I think second's a bit short, but yeah, I do that all the time. when I do the pair discussion, always preface it with the amount of time they've got, so they know they're not going into deep philosophical discussion, or if they are, you tell them, right, 10 minutes together, you're going to discuss this. They know that they're not just going to talk about something and say, teacher, I'm finished after 30 seconds, because you've said, well, that's the allotted time, right? Yeah, you can tell, you know, this guy's been around the block a bit, hasn't he? He's probably observed a fair few classes in his time, and he understands the these kind of things that you learn, you pick up from doing classroom observations and being observed yourself.
Yeah, and it's the mining of the material as well. I mean, a lot of this class is based around this video, and often you will just see, you know, kind of new teachers just throwing the video on, and then after it's like, fill out this handout or whatever, and you can see here there's just so much. There's a discussion looking at the picture, you could say like almost like a thumbnail of the video, getting little, you know, trying to elicit some vocabulary from that, and then you've got you're talking about the video, what to expect, and then you've got the video, and then you're going to be talking after, and then you're going to be going to more exercises. It's really just, you know, you're covering all the bases, and you know, you can do so much with so little, and you know, a lot of teachers, I don't think, grasp that sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay. I'm not quite sure why we needed a time skip when it was supposed to be a 20-second discussion. But, all right,
well, it's pretty well put together for this being what, like 5 years ago or something like that.
Oh, the editing's fantastic, I think. Yeah. The way they presented the book and the material so the camera could see it. Yeah. But this is a video editing, right? Yeah. But okay, all right, very good.
That's fine. So, Lana and Minako, what have you got?
The movie without sound.
Okay, movie without sound. What's the...
Oh, they showed the video. The time skip was because they've shown the video.
That's right. Yeah. And maybe copyright, they don't want to show it or something. I don't know. Although they're advertising the book pretty much there, so. Or was the video part of his own stuff, like going off piste?
No.
Yeah,
the videos come with the books, and you normally get access to them through the website. You've got to play them through a special browser and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but probably National Geographic own that, so. But
yeah.
Maybe they just didn't want to put it in the classroom obs.
Okay. No, thank you for your suggestion. Okay, Minako, have you got anything else? That's...
Next, with sound, and next, color is different. At first, white and black, just white and black, but
Other way around, black and white.
black and white.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put colour up there as well, and I'm going to move on. Thank you for your suggestion. Okay, next two, have you got an item that we can add to the board?
We think that maybe we will see a funny sketch with just one man for a few characters, not so many characters.
Oh, so this is not even before the video. This is before they've seen the video then.
Yeah, I missed that as well, but yeah. So maybe he said, what do you think we'll see in the video?
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Next,
Okay,
what
a bit.
have you got? Anything
The
to add to
same things. I thought that he will sneeze and then he laugh. That is a funny sketch.
Okay, well this guy here.
Yeah.
So you think you're going to see this man, the sneezing man?
Yeah.
I'll put some
I don't know, but
sneezing
can
man.
be.
Okay, thank you. Right, what have you got? Something to add to the board?
Maybe we will will see the gadgets or machines like video cameras used for make the film.
Light lamps.
What was that, sorry?
Light lamps for make the stand with more light. I don't know.
Lighting lamps, maybe, for general lamps. Okay, anything else that you can add to that list? Any others? Okay, right. So you can all note these down in your predict list, so you have the same. Okay, in the left-hand side predict list. We're going to listen, and if you see those things, you can check them off and give them a number. So, for example, if you see sneezing man first, at number 1, okay. The second thing you see, maybe, I don't know, silent movie, you could have a number 2, okay. And then if you do not see it, there's no number. So this is the first thing you're going to do. Also, in the vocabulary column, if there's any things that you see when you watch, maybe write down 5 things that you see also. So you have the checking to see if you see this, and 5 other things that you see. Okay? Okay.
Right, so first of all...
So what would you say that he's doing with that? Could you explain that?
The prediction thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. So first of all, I think that's really cool, little activity, right? And it's very common for if you're dealing with videos or audio material. The most common kind of way of dealing with that in the classroom, not necessarily the only way of dealing with it, or even the best way, but the standard way is that you listen or watch it twice, and the first time you watch it or listen to it, we do that whole listening for gist thing, and that's what this is all about. This is a listening for gist task, and one listening for gist task is this kind of tick the things that you see in the video, or put the things in order that you hear them mentioned in the audio, or something like that, right? And that's what he's doing, but he's got this extra layer of it, which is that it's personalized predictions. So they've made predictions themselves about what's going to be in the video, and then that's going to be their gist task as well. That's going to be their listening for gist, where they listen and order those things. So that's really cool that he's done that. I like that. I did that for one of my OBS classes in the diploma, actually, for an audio, and it's good because developing, we call them sub skills, right? One of the sub skills of listening comprehension is prediction, because prediction is a very useful skill as a communicator, and particularly a non-native. If you think about the conversation that you're about to have, it can be very useful for your comprehension and communication, right? So so that's kind of the sub skill that the students are being trained in with this activity, plus the personalization, plus the listening for gist. So yeah, I like it. Criticism wise, unless you've got something you want to say about that.
No, I think you absolutely nailed that, and it's a fantastic way to it's a fantastic way to teach as well. The more that you can add that personalized element, because they're cognitively involved in that they are generating those ideas, so that means that they've actually been thinking about that along with, you know, having to then find those ideas within the upcoming media content.
Yeah, totally.
It's just gonna integrate more.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know for sure, but I sort of hope that this is his own thing rather than what's. I mean, if it is what's in the book, then obviously the book great as well. But it's probably the case that in the book there's a list of things already supplied by the book, and it says sort of tick what you see, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speak badly of the
teaching guide for these sort of books. They have tend to have a lot of options. So it's, you know, the standard format of doing the watching the video and setting a task while you're watching the video, and then doing the after video task. They have that, but then they'll also have options of, if your students are higher level, do this, or lower level, do this. So maybe it could have been one of those sort of teacher hint sections, but you know, he's very experienced, obviously, so I could see that he just threw this in there. But you were going to mention some criticisms.
Oh, well, there was no ICQs, right? He didn't. I mean, he gave kind of, I would call them quite complicated instructions there. We're dealing with upper intermediate, so okay, they're on the verge of maybe you being able to make assumptions about them following everything you're saying. But his instructions were, write these in the predict column, tick it if you see it. No, sorry, write a number if you see it in the order that you see it, and if you don't see it, no number. That seems pretty complex to me. I would want to pick out a few students and be like, right, so if you see one of these, what do you do? Right, and they might say something, and you say, if you don't see one of these, what do you write? Do you write a number, or do you cross it? Right, try and get the students to give you back the instructions so you know they actually understand. So that would be my criticism with it, but maybe he knows his students well, and maybe they have a good understanding of his instructions.
No, I think it's a very good point, a very valid point, just to bring up for any other teachers watching this, or even students that aren't quite sure. You know, if your teacher does this, you know, it's just a quick exercise, but it nails clarity, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We want to know interpretation, especially with instructions. So ICQs, that stands for sorry, I should really speak in normal language sometimes, right? ICQ stands for instruction checking questions, for anyone listening who hasn't come across those yet. The standard thinking on this is that they should be yes, no, or this style things. So you'll say stuff like, you know, are you going to write it down, or are you going to say it to a partner? You know, do you need to ask all the questions or just 3 of them, right? And that kind of thing. Personally, I'm not keen on that. I know there are good reasons to do the either or thing, and it definitely does have its place, and it makes it quite snappy. But I like especially with upper intermediate and above, I kind of like the open questions and I've actually done something where you literally just say, like, you explain everything, and then you literally just pick a student out and say, you know, kind of, right, what are we doing? What's the task? And get them to explain it again. And actually, it works pretty well. Like, I've done that a few times, but for some reason, it does kind of get frowned on in, like, OBS and stuff. They tend to prefer those little yes, no, either or things. And it's just like, boom, yes, boom, yes, boom, yes. And then all the students know what they're doing, I guess. Yeah, I guess they don't want that much of a focus, and if you're doing those options, it moves through the process faster, and there's also more control with the teacher. As soon as you're kind of giving, you know, the mic or the baton over to a student, you don't know how long that's going to take, or, you know, what's going to happen with that. You know, if it fails and then it escalates, that you've got to try and find another teacher.
Wrong. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. All right. Okay.
So I guess we're going to watch this video, yeah?
Yep, let's see.
Here we go, and 3, 2, 1. Okay. 30 seconds to a minute then, when you finish writing, if you check with your partner, what did you see first, second, third, fourth and so on, and do you have the same vocabulary? Did you write down the same extra vocabulary, or is it different?
So this is
What's he doing there, Rich?
It looks like he's either noting some things down for error correction, or he's making some notes about the task that they did. So maybe the vocabulary that they wrote down, because he said something like write down any extra vocabulary or something that you hear during the video. Yeah, I'm just there's kind of a possible. I know I'm being super critical about this, and I probably do a lot of these things myself. It's only because it's on video that you're able to do this, right? But I feel like there might be something about his instructions that I don't particularly like. That they seemed a little bit. All the students seem to be getting it, but they seemed a little bit OTT. The thing is that there's an argument here for authentic instructions as well, and he's definitely doing that. I mean, you can't argue he's not doing that. Like he is speaking to these students really authentically. I imagine he wouldn't speak too much differently to either of us. You know what I mean? So so that there's a positive to be had there. But I always feel when it comes to instructions, there is a case to grade it. You know, when it's like a conversation or a little comment here and there or whatever, you're fine. But when it comes to instructions, you know, and it's just like in that thing there when he was like, okay, 30 minutes, what did he say? 30 seconds to a minute. I want you to like compare your list with a partner, and you know what I mean? It was something like that. I would have literally just been, okay, compare your answers, compare your words, 1 minute. Yeah. You know, and he kind of said like almost a paragraph of kind of, I don't know, instructions. So yeah, I would definitely, personally, I'd be grading instructions and grading them down, because one thing for sure is you want your students to understand your instructions always, pretty much, right?
Yeah, that's super important. And I see what you mean. Trying to be, it's also about being concise as well. But you know, maybe it's not something that he's written out in his lesson plan, or maybe he doesn't even really have one. He's probably taught this so much. Maybe. Yeah, and they're doing fine. So, but you know, in general, in general, it's good. It's good to do. However, with their level, it doesn't seem to be a problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, we say that though, but who knows if they got all of that? I mean, maybe they're not comparing the words. Maybe some of them didn't understand they have to compare their words. They're just comparing the lists. You know, I don't know. But anyway, we don't know because he didn't ICQ it. Okay, let's move on.
Just a quick check then. With these things, which one did you see first? And there are probably a few of those throughout the beginning as well. Second?
Black and white movie.
Okay. Everybody agree? Yeah. Okay. Number 3? Early one, yeah. And later on as well, I think. Sleazy Man was in there.
Yeah.
As a movie? As a picture, it was in there. Yeah. Okay. Funny sketch. Okay.
You haven't seen lighting lamps.
There was, I had one question just now. What do you call it, in fact? Movie set. What was your question again?
Who do you call when there is a space that is the actor and they are talking, but I don't know the place, the stage?
Yeah, we talked about either a movie set or you can also have like a sound stage, which may be indoors, and you can kind of record a lot of the sound, but it's a movie set. I heard somebody, in fact I saw somebody write down, can I write at the top?
Yes.
Yeah, this thing about asking before you wipe the board, Okay, so I've had, especially when I was kind of a newish teacher, I had observers who were so big. Oh, always ask before you wipe the board, kind of thing. I don't know about that. I mean, first of all, the fact that that was from the very start of the lesson. It was his signposting. Does he really need to ask there? And I don't know. I think to some extent, I think the teacher can make that call. I mean, for me, I always think if students want to make notes about stuff on the board, that's cool. Sometimes I mention it. I say, make a note of any of the words here that you would like to use in the future, you know, if I've got some vocab on the board or something like that. But I personally think, yeah, it seems like a bit much to sort of ask every time you rub something out on the board, oh, am I okay to rub this off? I don't know. It's your board, you know, rub it off or not. And if you do rub it off and someone goes, oh my God, I didn't copy that down yet, then you can just be like, well, it's not that important, don't worry about it. If I didn't tell you to copy it down, you're fine with not copying it down, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a habit that he's got.
I think I'm being observed and therefore I'm going to ask every time I rub something off the board kind of habit, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wants to tick the box, right? So if someone is observing you, or maybe it's something as an observer, he always tells people, right? And maybe he shows this video to some of the people who he trains, or you know, he's the manager of or whatever. So, and he wants to make sure you ask him before you rub it off, because it is a good thing maybe to tell a newbie teacher, right? But ultimately, it's something.
Well, you also have to do it within context and understand why you're asking, because you know, it's some of the stuff that you write on the board is important, and but you know, you should be doing as you say, telling them, write this down.
Yep.
Rather than asking, can I erase that? Yeah. Because why would they be writing it down at that time unless they're scrambling because you didn't earlier say write it down?
Or to be honest, what sort of became common practice for me with the adults was literally just like, right, okay, take a photo, and everyone just get their camera and take a photo of the board, and then it's gone, kind of thing. So
yeah, the marvels of smartphones and cameras. Yeah, even my kids would take photos. Well, not kids because they don't have their phones, but you know, like the middle schoolers and high schools. Yeah, the teens.
Yeah.
That said, I don't particularly like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I know
it's convenient, but I think they're missing something by not writing it down. There's a whole physical memory with writing.
Yeah, even compared to typing, I think writing has a kind of magical power a little bit when it comes to engaging your memory or personalization or whatever. Definitely, I think writing is good, but I also think, you know, if there's a whole board of stuff, they probably made the notes as they were going along, you know, and if they haven't, then you know, just okay, take a photo and move on. There was someone one time who said to me, you know, sometimes it's good to actually say to them, okay, copy this down. You know, you've got 60 seconds or whatever. Yeah, I guess sometimes I kind of like the approach of, you know, copy down anything that you like here, right? Any of these words that you like, take them down. Just choose at least two of the words in our vocabulary. You know, 30 seconds, do it nice and quick, and then boom, it's gone. Or whatever. Okay. I'm liking this though. This guy's obviously very good, isn't he?
He's very good. This is a great lesson so far.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that's crossed my mind though. Will these students ever stand up in this class? I don't think they will. And personally, I would have got it was going through my head when he did the feedback for this activity. I almost felt like that would have been, rather than getting it back, it might have been an opportunity just to get them out the seats, just at least one time in the class. But anyway, let's see. Maybe I'm wrong.
Good piece of vocabulary. They said they saw people, or I guess you could say video or maybe film, in colour and in black and white. about a movie being in colour and black and white. Somebody was talking about at the end they saw actual pictures of nature. I think some of you, yeah. Yeah, probably say something like documentary. Stress there, so you kind of got documentary. Sorry, that should be. It looks like Terry. It's in fact one syllable. So documentary. Everybody.
Documentary.
Okay, super. Any other questions? Let's move on to the next bit. Now you'll see in your books question number 4. We're going to watch the first part of the video. Question number 4. First part of the video again. And you have more kind of specific events in the video. 4A, the projector was developed. B, people watch films in arcades. Okay, if you have a quick read through those 6 events.
For over a century, film has captured the imagination of audiences all over the world. Motion pictures have allowed us to explore the unknown, bring histories to life, and allow has taken us to new places.
What was the task? I kind of like phased out. And I don't know if that's reflective of me being
He was doing the questions. They had to listen to these specific details to answer the questions, basically.
What kind of questions are they? Were they true, false, or were they just open questions?
I think they were open.
Right, so it's stuff like, in what year was the XYZ camera?
It can really make sense going from gist to detail.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense going from just to detail, but I don't know if I like the detailed task. I mean, it sounds boring. I don't know. Can't they come up with something else?
Well,
watch the video.
Often it's going to be, you know, they'll have, especially when they're doing dates and stuff, they'll have 2 dates that are kind of similar. You know, they'll have, in 1913 was when film was created, but this video was from 1930.
Yeah.
You know, like that sort of stuff where it's kind of almost a bit of a, I'm trying to trick you.
Okay. It's true, but I maintain that sounds boring. Let's have a look. We'll watch on and see what the questions actually are and what the answers actually are.
Okay.
And then judge whether maybe this activity is actually that interesting, or maybe there could be a better one.
And allowed us to see the world in
Okay, that's the first part of the video.
Oh, did we skip it? Okay.
It's just the first part that they do.
With your group, have you got the same order? Did you get the same as your partner? Yeah. Did you get the same? You sure? Same? Yeah. We can we could, before going on to the next section, we could maybe check that section and read the subtitles before we carry on. Yeah. Okay. So question number 4 again then, just to kind of double check your answers. Give me a second.
over a century, film has captured the imagination of audiences all over the world.
So he's doing it again with
Motion
subtitles.
New American aristocracy, a tradition that continues with Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't like this activity. Unfortunately, we don't get to see the video because they cut it, so we can't see what's in the video. But I would wonder whether there might be, if this is an interesting video, which it might be, there might be something in there which you could certainly make it. You could pluck out a few QIs, right? A few quite interesting tidbits, and maybe make some other activity out of this. Yeah, I just I don't know, it just seems like a kind of a let's do the listening for gist activity now stage, rather than a, you know, something a bit more engaging. And of course, on a day-to-day basis, you're teaching, you know, 5 or 6 or 7 classes a day or whatever, and obviously you're going to have classes where you do this. That's not an issue. But when you're doing an OBS, it's different. And when you're doing an OBS on video that's going to go on National Geographic's channel, I think there would be an argument for coming up with something a bit more creative, interesting, engaging for this little stage, for the listening for detail.
What would you do differently?
Yeah, that's a good point. I should really have a solution to the problem as well, right? I think watching the video a few times would certainly help to think about it a bit. Maybe have some statements about, because this is like, it's like a history of film, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or history of like moving pictures or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we have some statements, like maybe 6 or 7 statements, and we put them on the board and we say, right, okay guys, which of these are true? What do you think? And I'm going to tell you not all of them are true, but I won't tell you anything else. So with a partner, just which of them are true, right? Okay, and then they sort of go through that, and then you say, okay, now we're going to listen, and I want you to check which ones are true, and if they're false, can you correct the false information?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I feel like that would be a bit more engaging, because then they've had a chance to have a little discussion about the history of film, which could be interesting, right? Rather than just a list of whatever is in the book. I don't know what it is. We didn't really see it that much, but yeah, they've had a bit of a discussion, you know, and did color film come before color animation, or, you know, whatever, or, you know, the first moving picture was made using the light bulb or whatever, I don't know, but yeah, whatever it was, they've at least had a chance to talk about it, and then they listen, and the critical listening for detail part is the correcting of the false sentences, obviously. You know, it's the fact that they're having to listen for specific information. So like, for example, if one of your false sentences says, you know, movie theaters first opened in 1928, you know, and the actual answer is movie theaters first opened in, I don't know, 1918 or something, then that's listening for detail, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I would do, I guess.
Yeah.
Bit of personalization, bit of a different task. Or
I guess he's just
else.
not moved that far away from the book.
Yeah, possibly, and maybe he's been told, you know, because it is kind of the National Geographic thing. Maybe it is like you have to do what's in the book.
Yeah, well, I suppose if
yeah.
you know, it's advertised, the video is being advertised as a portion of this life course book, then, you know, they want them to stick to the questions and not put too much of your own stamp on it.
Yeah.
So maybe we can let him off a little bit.
Can let him off, but
not the materials.
Well, no, not all the material, because I mean the material can't do everything for you either. But the lesson, I think, can be judged for it. I'd like to see where it goes. I feel like I would be kind of engaged from this class, especially from the start. But I feel like I'd be switching off at the moment. You know, I'd just be like, oh, we're just doing the comprehension task, okay, whatever, you know. I wouldn't be like excited about it or anything. Anyway, let's see what happens.
Blockbusters and film stars of today.
Okay. Quick 20 seconds then, just to double check. Okay, so the first one was.
Edison and Dixon invented candles.
Okay. Yes. Number 2.
B.
Okay, lovely. Number 3.
D.
4.
D.
D. 5.
C.
6.
E.
Lovely. Now, I forgot to ask you to note down maybe any new vocabulary that you read. We can watch again later. Was there anything that you saw that you remembered or wrote down that you'd like to ask about that was new? No? Okay. So, we're going to carry on from this section. In just a moment, we're going to look at question number 5 then from the book. Here is a little bit more noting then. Just read through the 4 questions in section number 5, just to double check what you need to do. Okay, ready, steady, go.
Continues with Hollywood blockbusters.
I feel like he has to follow the book. I think you're right, because I definitely wouldn't be doing that. I mean, like I said, I probably would have replaced the last detailed question. When it comes to this detailed question for an obs class, I'd definitely, I think there's an argument for sort of why you're doing it at this stage. I don't know, yeah. So maybe it's a case of just going by the book. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it is almost a promotional video for the book, but. I think he's doing a good job of teaching that, and they'll be buying these books, so they're going to want to be using them.
That's true, and they always come up with that argument as well. But all you need to do is integrate the video and some of the general ideas about it, not necessarily use exactly the tasks they've got. I want to see what comes after this. Let's see.
Film stars of today. Tremendous impact.
Okay. When you finish writing your notes, started with your partner again. Are your notes the same or different? You got the same notes or different notes? Okay. Would you? It looks like maybe you'd like to listen again. Yeah. So we'll listen without the subtitles. Yeah. We can do subtitles. Maybe we'll listen once and then check with the subtitles. Okay.
How about, like, I don't know, hands up subtitles?
Yeah. Instead of that little dance, it was a shimmy.
Or even
you don't do the shimmy.
Better. Well, actually, I do. It's funny when you said it, when you mentioned it. I do that kind of stuff sometimes. That's kind of almost why I
put your left foot in,
because
left foot out.
Because when you've got a chair, you can't do it. So instead, when you have a chair, you start like doing this, don't you? Hey, what's up? Hey, you over there. That's what I do anyway. So yeah, I think he should have been a bit more commanding there, made a decision himself, or another way of doing it, maybe a better way would be to say, hands up if you don't want me to put stuff. No, because then no one, because students always want you to put subtitles on, don't they? It's whether they need it or not. Yeah. I think if he's already established that there's a need for subtitles, which it seems he has, which I assume is from him listening to what they're saying and also maybe looking at the answers they've got, then say, okay, we're going to watch again. We're going to put subtitles on this time. Just go.
Yeah, I think, it's almost like he's apologetic for it. He's just not certain. But if he feels like they want it, then you just do it. Yeah, there doesn't need to be a song and dance about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Why do you think they didn't pick up on it? Was it anything to do with his instruction, or it's just, the task itself?
I mean, I think it could definitely be related to the level of interest. but it could also be the difficulty of the recording. That's possible. You know, maybe it needed a little bit more. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about that true false thing, is that you're kind of priming them with a lot of the language that they need to listen for already. They just really need to listen for the specific details of that language. So they're kind of loaded in. So it gives them a bit of scaffolding, I suppose, as well, to understand something which might be a little bit beyond their range of understanding. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for me, definitely interest is becoming a factor. You know, of these videos, they could be interesting, but at the moment I'm just kind of thinking, yeah, okay, history of film, Edison invented something, okay, right. You know, and I'm sure that I think that could be interesting, but right now it's kind of in a dip. I want to, obviously, we presumably after this last bit, we're going to have some sort of communicative activity.
That's what I'm hoping for, because you know, he's primed them with all this vocabulary. He's got to start opening them up a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's either going to be that or it's going to be some sort of language analysis, isn't it? So let's have a look.
Was the past in a way inconceivable only a few generations ago? Who knew that those early flickering images would have such a tremendous impact?
Okay. Final check then. Did you see what your partner told you? Did you add any new notes to the questions?
You wiped the board without asking.
We'll just do a quick check all together on the board. I think I got all of them, but then maybe there's one or two that I missed because it was quite quick. But it's okay because we'll watch again and read the subtitles. It'll be a bit easier to follow. So, what has film allowed us to do outside of Hollywood?
See the
See the world in a different way.
Right.
new place.
See the world in a new, different way. Can you read my writing? Okay?
Oh, there's lots of things I don't like about this bit. Yeah, I definitely don't like, because this just seems like it's going to take ages to do feedback now, because he's going to go through this. They're going to give extensive answers for all of them. Is he going to write them all on the board, word for word? And since he's got interactive material for this, can he not just throw the solutions up on the board from the interactive material? I'm almost certain that he can. I would certainly expect that he could.
That would be a quicker way of doing it, using interactive whiteboard to quickly just have it up on there rather than writing. But
yeah, or give a whiteboard marker to each pair and say, right, you write number 1, you write 2, you write 3, you write 4, boom, go. And they all get up and write 1, 2, 3, 4, or you write the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then give them all a pen, and then they do it, and it's done. And then you say, right, are all those correct, or are any of them wrong? Oh, that one doesn't look right to me, right? And then you fix the ones that are wrong. So then they have the solutions on the board, but it's taken probably about 10 times less time, and they've got out of their seats. Yeah, and I don't like the fact he's mentioning watching this again. It seems like we're watching this video quite a lot. I mean, not that you can't do that per se, but I feel like it needs to be a little bit, I feel like the engagement should be higher if that's what he's really going to do. If he's going to milk the video that much, I want a reason, you know. I don't just want to listen to a documentary.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to start moving towards, you know, having them create, you know, to move. Okay, we've looked at this video, we've looked at the film. You know, what do you feel about that? What do you feel about film now? How do you see film in the future? You know, start getting some sort of discussion that, you know, builds from this.
Presumably that's where we're going to go now, I guess.
Well, maybe after this 10 minutes of feedback.
Let's see.
Well, you know, I don't know if how fast he can write, or you're apologising for his writing. One thing that I picked up on and I like it, and it's something that I do. Is he mentioned that what he wrote down his answers when he was listening, and he mentioned that, oh yeah, it does go quite quick, and he wasn't sure of some of the answers, and so for me, that's he's watching the video, answering the questions in the class rather than referring to the answer key in the teacher's guide and stuff, which a lot of people, a lot of teachers lean into, because it's easier and faster. But I think it's good to kind of come into it fresh, because you kind of see the material in the same way as the students. Like, you pick up on, oh yeah, this is actually really quite fast, even for like a native speaker. So it informs your lesson, where you might go, yeah, I might want to kind of explain that, or go over that a few more times, because if you just,
I know what
what
you're
I mean?
saying. It's kind of like, yeah, you're arguing for the teacher to be actively listening as well as the students, instead of the teacher just sort of putting the audio on and then tuning out, right? Is that what you're saying? Something like
yeah, and just being more engaged with the material, actually, doing the questions yourself, because by going through that process, you can kind of pick up on parts where maybe you struggled, or you were like, oh, I'm a little bit confused by this question, because a lot of these course books, they do get proofread, but sometimes the way that they pose questions, you're like, oh, this is really strange. What do you mean by this? Because English can be interpreted. So I always think it's a good thing to kind of go over the materials, even if it's before lesson or while you're going through the class. If you don't have the time to do it before, it's good practice.
Yeah, I think so too. Although it can be, definitely for an obs class, he should. I don't know. I feel like it definitely should be quite familiar with this, but he should have also tried to look at it through the eyes of a student as well. In any obs class, I'd be pre-watching, pre-listening to the audio and very much thinking about what are the students going to make of this. Also to give kind of teachers a break about this, I think it can be quite difficult to listen to audios as a teacher, especially if because it's something that we do use in class quite a lot, and to have to like get your attention, because you're teaching the class as well, and then every time you put an audio on, really that's your rest time. It's the only time you get when you can kind of just shut off a bit, and just give your brain a moment to kind of just okay. And if you have to listen to the audio as well, then it does take quite a bit of effort. And I know for a fact that I don't always 100% listen to the audio, because I've done lessons, the same lesson again and again and again, and every time I listen to the audio, I pick up on something new about it. So I definitely know that is a thing. But like you're saying,
I don't do it in class. I do it before, when I'm kind of going over the lesson. I'm writing some notes in the course book, or writing down the answers that I hear. I'll do that before class, and it's a bit of extra time, but often when you're an ELT teacher, it's front heavy prep time. You do a course book, and then you're probably going to be teaching that course book for the rest of the summer or year, so you just need to kind of prep one time, and then every time after that it's just kind of tinkering. So
it can be good, can't it, to get those lessons that you're really good at or whatever.
But I think it's good to go over the material beforehand, answering the questions yourself, making notes of any areas that you think students would stumble upon, so that you have that perspective when you're planning. And then during class, switch off during the listening parts, but you're not, when you're giving out the answers, you're giving out the answers that you heard, not just ones that you're just vomiting from the answer key in the teacher guide, because sometimes the stuff that they're trying to, it's almost like some of the materials or some questions, they have the answer in mind that they're trying to fit with the material, and you're like, I wouldn't really put it this way.
Yeah.
But let's see what he's going to do.
Yes. Quickly, yeah. I think also see the world and see. I think I heard
New places,
new
yeah.
places. Yeah. Anything to add? No. Right. Moving on. Number 2. 4 events. Okay. Then the video show's being covered by early newsmen. Now I only got 3 of these.
President, inauguration.
Similar word. Okay. Benfield, you ready?
Yeah,
What happens when our president is inaugurated? I promise to be really good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's the start. Yeah. The kind of the beginning, of their term. Okay. So that was the first one. Another one.
Exploring the Arctic.
Exploring the Arctic. Third one.
The logo keeps coming up on him, and it looks like he's got a neck tattoo. I'm like, wow, this guy's got a neck tattoo. Only some of the time.
Yeah, those projectors that project from the back are really awful, because you stand in front of them, and when you look at your class, you get completely dazzled by the light shining in your face.
Oh, and it gets so hot as well.
I much prefer the projectors that are right next to the board.
Yeah.
Like the ones that, those fancy ones that project downwards.
Maybe an important episode.
Yeah, very important, very noticeable because they're so important. Maybe another word would be notable. It's so important you'll write it down and report it in the newspapers. Yeah. Okay.
I feel kind of bored. What's going on? Don't you think?
He's going over the answers. I think he's introducing the target vocabulary.
He's expanding on the vocab, I think, a bit, and he's giving them lots of context about the vocab, and that's great. I mean, that's a great way of, when you introduce vocab, to give sort of, to talk about it a bit and engage with it a bit and whatnot. And he's doing that, but I feel like he's been doing that all class anyway.
Well, I think there was certain key vocabulary that he was hoping to get, like inauguration. Right. And then if it doesn't come up and they explain it in a different way, says, well, this we could say, another word for that is notable, like he just said there. So it's kind of, he's fishing for the vocabulary from the book, but also if they don't get it, he's saying, well, this is what you're trying to say is actually this word is the more concise way of saying it. It's just, it's a bit long-winded and it's a bit winding. So I can see how it would lose your attention.
Well, you might be right, but also I'm hesitant to believe that is the target vocabulary. What are they going to do with inauguration and notable after this? I don't know. So I don't know if that's really target. Maybe it's something, but
I think it might be one of those, if I remember right from similar course books, it's one of those blurbs at the bottom where the words to know, but not necessarily.
Oh, one of those things.
Yeah.
I don't think that doesn't seem like good rationale. I think they're the kind of I don't think I would want to jam those into a class without having a good reason. If they come up, fine, but to actually jam them in, well, let's see. Maybe notable will come up. We're struggling to get past this correction phase, aren't we?
So 2 unusual activities you see as examples of how documentary filmmakers have used the camera in new ways. Sorry?
Distant culture.
distant cultures. So kind of things happening, I guess, in different cultures and going to the faraway places. Anything else?
Yes, maybe it can allow to see and make movie on activities that usually take hours or a day to happen, or in slow motion.
Yeah. So activities. Very good phrase. Slow motion. They usually take hours. What was the example?
Narrating Richard's thought patterns right now. Slow motion, taking hours.
Or a plant. I'd probably just say grows. Rather, usually growing up, it is growing up, but quite often children, for example, grow up and become an adult. You could argue that the seed is the child and the plant is like the adult. How a seed or plant grows. Okay. Anything else? One thing I got, I guess it's related to the sort of the distant cultures, is images of beauty. I think it said in possible.
His board work's pretty good. Like, I like the way that he's writing this. I like those little slashes that he puts when he says how a seed grows, how a plant grows. I like that. I think that's a good way of presenting vocabulary, and I think obviously one of this guy's strengths, I think, is like developing and presenting vocabulary. But I don't know. I'm struggling to see the relevance of like throwing all this at them, and I'm also wondering whether this is going to become clear in the next 10 minutes. I don't think it is.
I think it is literally just extensive correction and going over the answers. But I think here's the crux of the argument that you're making, is that it makes sense if you are trying to answer the questions in the book and to give the students the answers and to correct them as is. But I think the general drive that you're getting at is, how does this help them communicate?
And how does it help them communicate, and
how does that practice communication?
And also we got activities in slow motion that usually take hours, that and activities in slow motion that usually take hours. So when does he expect the students to use that? Not just in the class, but ever? Like, are they going to remember it? Are they going to use that phrase when they go out? Oh yes, activities in slow motion. I remember that from my class on film. I don't know. I mean, this sort of vocabulary and stuff reminds me of, when I'm teaching IELTS, because they have these vocabulary lexi groups around different topics. That if you can throw in a phrase like that when you're talking about film, it shows deeper levels of vocabulary. But it's hard, like you say, it's hard to argue that this would be day-to-day communication. Well, it's not so much. I'm not arguing exactly against the language, but I feel like it needs to be engaged with, it needs to be personalized, it needs to be used in some way. Just the fact that it's come up in a listening and he's written it on the board and expanded on it a bit, and they've maybe written it down in their books, I just don't know if that's ever going to come up anyway, unless they get an activity, communicative activity in the class, give them a chance to actually think, oh yeah, the activities in slow motion thing, bring it, say it when you talk to them, and then use it in the real world. That really does work.
That's what we're hoping for right now. Basically, we're hoping the next step is that there's some sort of a group set or pairs set or a discussion or some way where they start to use all this stuff that he's boarded in a way to
Yeah.
solidify it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But we're waiting.
To reach places. Sorry, that's an inverted commas there because it's a whole phrase, impossible to reach. Or I guess it's kind of like a very hard to reach places.
Imagine if people watching this video, they're like, why are all these people just watching this guy write on a board for so long?
And then last rule, number 4. How have studio blockbusters influenced documentaries? I counted 5 things that documentaries have borrowed.
Set design.
Lovely, yeah.
We can learn about important moments in our life, past moments.
Yeah. I think that's. I'll put that one there because I think kind of with film as well, there was being able to visualise history as never before. Important moments from past. Who was that? On here? Somebody else? Stu?
Also computer yes.
Okay, computer animation.
Light.
Yeah, again I'd say light or generally lighting. Often computer animation, I don't think they said it in the movie, but you can have 3 letters that are often used to talk about computer animation. C, G, I. You know that?
Hmm?
Computer generated images. Okay, excellent. What we'll do now is watch and listen and read again, and hopefully we'll see these phrases on the screen. Any questions?
Okay, we're going to watch again.
Inconceivable only a few generations ago. Who knew that those early flickering images would have such a tremendous impact?
Any questions there?
What is the meaning of unraveling?
Yeah, I wrote down this phrase, so you have. Can I wipe off the board?
Yes.
Anybody remember the phrase that what came after unraveling? Unraveling, I think it's stuff about the mysteries of, and I think in this example we have ancient cultures. Unravel. I think you can unravel like a ball of string, or maybe I think a knot. So if you have kind of like a ball of string all tangled up, yeah, and when you kind of unravel it, you sort of pull it apart so it becomes the string. I may be wrong with a knot, because usually maybe I think you untie a knot. So if you imagine your mystery is this kind of this
I don't know, we should skip ahead a bit. I feel like I'm sort of done with vocabulary input. He's good at expanding on vocab, but it just seems to be like
there's
much
mining
stage.
material and going over material, and then there's flogging a donkey to death.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I like to do this myself, like expand on some vocab point, but not like with it, not all the time with everything. Like occasionally with something that's kind of going to be useful. I don't think these guys are necessarily, you know, ready to be. I mean, upper intermediate. Are they really going to be? You know, do they need to know all the different ways you can use unravel? Maybe that's a bit more at C1. They might be thinking a bit more about that. I just feel like now that's just a side thing. Yeah, unravel means this. Move on.
You know, like they've done the check, and they've done another check, and they're talking even more. When I feel like there's way too much teacher talk time.
Maybe.
I feel like this is
teacher-centric activity.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all teacher-centric activities and teacher talk time. At this point, like at the beginning, it was great. It was fine. It was teacher talk, split into pairs, their discussion, and adding a little bit more to the layers. But here, especially with the correction, it's just teacher, teacher, teacher. When he's got an interactive whiteboard here, he can just throw up the answers, say, what did you have anything that was kind of different, how did you have that answer, and they can throw up the different ways, and maybe you can board some stuff up there. But you know, that's been, we're coming up like 10 minutes, and that could have been 10 minutes of them in discussion and using the language and being productive, not receptive.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Maybe we can skip ahead. I don't know.
We can try.
A little bit of a relax.
So this looks like
through your notes and the answers.
more.
Quick read.
A quick read.
So they're reading through their notes, and
Generally, I heard you sort of summarise the video really well, and so there's a little bit I can talk to you about that I heard. Can I wipe this off, sir? Yeah. I heard somebody talking about how the video was a history of the filmmaking. In this phrase, I'll probably take out one word to make it sound a little bit more natural. Yeah. Why? Yeah, we don't need the article to talk about like which one, so it's filmmaking in general. Related to that was somebody said for conclusion, sort of summarised the video and then sort of wanted to make, I guess, a general statement at the end. You could say for a conclusion, because there's possibly several conclusions that you can make. Again, yeah, in conclusion, that sounds a little bit formal, like it comes at the end of an essay, maybe. So
this is the last activity.
This is error correction, isn't it?
Yeah, this is error correction.
Yeah.
That's it. So basically, the productive element that they had, the communicative element they had, was basically them making summaries.
It was summarising the video.
Yeah. To each other.
Did they clip that?
They probably clipped it later, and we kind of moved a little bit ahead, but you know, as you know, they would have used some of that language that he put up on the board, because they were summarizing that, but it was personalized to an extent in, you know, how they've put together their summary, but not personalized in you know, how they felt about
Yeah.
it. I would have liked them to say, well, you know, did you engage with, and include that within their summary.
Yeah.
Something that's you know, a bit more
and I don't
of
know
them.
if it's it's just in my head or not, but the students themselves seem to be feeling this a bit. No, I don't know. At the start of the class, they kind of seemed quite sort of into everything that was going on, and they're still doing it now, but they're kind of look, we've got people like laughing and smiling at
Yeah.
the start, but they were enjoying it. I don't feel like they really enjoyed it anymore. I feel like what they were doing now is they're like, oh, it's English class, I've got to keep focusing and carry on
Yeah.
with this, you know, because I need to learn English. So yeah, I feel like it's gone from being kind of potentially quite fun to being like, oh, let's finish this off. Yeah, that was all error correction, wasn't it? Which
Yeah.
is fine. His error correction seems to be good as well. Could be a bit more interactive, but fine. Okay, he expands on stuff pretty well. But like we say, the big thing that seems to be missing here is a kind of more just engagement of a more engaging, productive activity. And it seemed to me like the whole receptive thing was milked a bit too much. Watching the video 3 times, you know, I think you need a good reason to do that.
It just went too heavy into the correction at the end, and there was not enough open discussion.
Well, it was almost like all the things involving board work he did a bit too much of, wasn't it? Because it was vocab expansion, answers, going through the answers to the questions, expanding on the vocabulary, and error correction, all of which he's good at, but does way too much of, or did way too much of in this class.
It felt very much focused around the course book, and you know, this is probably, like I've mentioned before, almost a promotional video for the course book and how easy it is to teach and use. And you know, that's why they're going over the answers so extensively, but I don't think it's the correct way to have the students be communicating. Well, they weren't communicating, they're just listening to him and watching him as he boards stuff. And yeah, they do need the answers, but you know, you can throw those answers up on the board quickly with a slide, and then you know, have them discussed. You know, do they agree or disagree with those answers? Do you have anything different? Did you put it in a different way? And maybe you can board that stuff, and then you have more time to not have the teacher talking, and then discussing, still do that summarizing activity. I think that's a fine activity and a good way to kind of tie things up, but then go with it. You've got a topic, you've got a theme of the class. What can you make from that where they can go and talk to someone else apart from their partner that they've just talked to all class?
Yeah, they only ever talk to either him or the one person sat next to them. They never stood up. The groups never got mixed up. I mean, even if I do a class which is all pair work, the one thing that I do at the very least is swap out the groups. So the easiest way to do it in that situation where you've got the loop is to take the one person from the end, get them to stand up, move to the other end, and then everyone moves down one. Or they can just, if you have an extra chair, it's even easier because they just have to literally move to that chair and then everyone swaps to speak to the partner on their other side. But yeah, it needed some dynamism, didn't it? It needed some engagement,
it trailed.
some dynamism.
I mean, you're completely correct. At the beginning, there was a whole different energy, and I thought from the start of the class we were like, we're gonna have a perfect class here, or you know, something close to that, because there's no such thing as perfect. There was a lot of it was moving along fast. There was, here's something new, here's the discussion, breaking up the activities, and then it's just boom, 10 minutes of going over the answers, and it felt like you were trudging through. Which is disappointing.
Well, it was interesting.
But you know,
anyway,
I think if he maybe
Clive.
if he didn't have the book, he had to cover all the those questions in the book and he had a little bit more leeway outside of this video, we might have seen something different.
Yeah, he's clearly got some good teaching skills, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Just the lesson could have been better put together, I think. So yeah, if you ever want to come on, what was the fellow's name?
Clive Brown.
Clive Brown.
Clive Brown, teacher
Come on
extraordinaire.
board.
Great
this, of
board
course,
work.
This course was like 5 years ago as well, so he's probably like writing his own teaching methodology at this stage.
Yeah, I know 5 years ago, having that in the classroom, you know, the videos and stuff like that, I guess it would be relatively new having a whiteboard like that. So I'd be excited to see what he's doing now, you know, with something where it's a lot easier to, you know, where the computer's integrated into the whiteboard, you can throw up clips quite fast, and, you know, the technology's better. It'd be interesting to see where they've gone with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
fantastic.
Mr. Brown, Teacher Brown, Brown Teacher, drop us a line. Anyone from National Geographic, you know, we'd love to hear more.
Totally.
Because I'm a big fan of the course books.
If the founder of National Geographic is watching, probably dead.
Have you got any final thoughts or on that?
I think we pretty much said it in the video throughout. I think there's a lot of things that we picked up on, and yeah, I mean, for me, I think I'll probably stick by where at the point where I started to think it was going awry. I think that's where it was going awry for me. It was the first listening for detail task of the video. It needed to be more engaging, creative, personalized. The students need to get out their chair at least once. The groups need to be mixed up. The second listening for detail task I don't even think was necessary. I think we should have moved on to some productive task. I mean, you're overloading them with vocabulary. I mean, how much vocabulary can you learn even if you want to? You know, anything more than like 10 terms. I mean, 10 terms is even a lot, but anything more than that is going way overboard, isn't it? I mean, you want to get, okay, we've got a few things to work with. Now let's do something with it. Let's get up and talk to people and do a mingle or do a group thing or do a poster or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's a question. What was the target language? What was the
random stuff related to this video, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I think that was kind of where the lesson went awry. Was it didn't seem clear as to knowing what your students are going to leave the classroom with, you know, and that you've successfully had them learn that, practice that, produce it, and go, yeah, I can tell you by the end of the class, these 5 students are going to know, these students are going to know 5 vocabulary or functional language terms or whatever, and you know, then the next class you can refer back to that and be like, hey, remember last class we did this? Do you remember what that was about? And, you know, keep
totally
building on that. But I really couldn't say what the target language, what he was trying to achieve.
Yep, it's a good point. What was the lesson name?
Yeah,
practice watching a video.
Yeah, because they didn't really produce anything.
Yeah, I don't know what the lesson name was.
And I don't think that was so much on him. I think it was, you know, we've got to stick so much to the material, and you know, I feel that that's a good example of what happens when you're too rigid with material and you don't allow expansion and, you know, students being able to take it and run with it, or letting them do that.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, Teacher Brown, Clive Brown, Mr. Brown, Brown Teacher, Professor Brown, Prof Brown, if you watch this, drop us a line. We'd love to have you on, and, you know, keep trucking.
Keep on trucking. YouTube.com/Professor Rich. Like, subscribe, share on social media. Instagram, ELT, under the covers. Send it to your mother. She'll love it.
I'm Neil Teacher, teamteacherchina.com. We've got a whole bunch of materials, PowerPoints you can use. Same on our YouTube. We have lots of stuff for teachers and for people living or wanting to live in China. We have Team Teacher Baby about our parenting and teaching our child, and Team Teacher English, where we've got a whole bunch of English learning stuff for kids videos that you can give as homework or you can have your kids watch. And let me reiterate, like, subscribe and share all our videos, whether you like them or not. And check out our Instagram, ELT Under the Covers. We have some fantastic memes and clips from our shows. And leave a comment. What should they comment on today?
My microphone quality. How is my microphone quality today, folks? Is it still not so good, or is it great? They could comment on just how cool Neil's expressions are. I don't know, man. Maybe they should comment what we should do next. What do you want us to look at next? I don't know. Or
if you have some ideas about what you want us to look at, or any particular clips, or you've got a clip yourself that you want us to analyze, drop us a message through the channel, leave a comment, go to our Instagram account, direct messages, DM us there.
ELT Under the Covers, the dankest memes. They could comment how dank our memes really are.
We'll have a dankness scale. A dank spectrum. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure as always. Signing off.